Hey there everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. This is technically a lore video because I'm going to be talking about Skip broke in The Sims 4. Now I did a video called You're Not The Sims 2 where I did discuss Skip broke. Now I didn't go too much in detail with him, it was sort of like a rant video pretty much. And, I was just talking about all different kinds of things like Skip, Agora, Olive Spectre, all that other stuff. But I wanted to make a dedicated video to Skip because I really wanted to break down why his character doesn't work and why The Sims 4 writing is so horrendous. Like this, the fact that they tried to connect the Sims 2 storyline of Skip and his family to the Sims 4 version, it's dumb and it doesn't work. So I'm going to be breaking that down. I'm going to be breaking down why it doesn't work, why it makes no sense, and why it makes Skip into a massive scumbag and just makes him a pretty irredeemable character. And it's pretty clear that when the developers or whoever for The Sims 4 were making this storyline, they didn't think about it. They didn't think about it. They just said, alright, we'll just put Skip in this role. We'll just bring him back for nostalgia. Because that's what it is. It's nostalgia bait. They just want to bring him back. Because I said in that original video, they could have swapped Skip out with somebody else and it wouldn't have made a difference. What's the point in bringing back the character? But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Alright, so getting started with why I don't think Skip's story works in this game, it's simply because they are trying to connect it to his death and his family in The Sims 2. If they didn't do this, if they didn't try and connect it to the Sims 2 storyline, it would probably work a little bit better. But because they're trying to sort of connect it to the point where people think it's in the same damn universe, which is stupid because they're not, I don't know, it does not work. So, let's get started. So yeah, the original reason I made that You're Not The Sims 2 video, the reason I made that video was because it kind of annoyed me that they tried to retcon Skip's death. That was the reason I made the video, was because they changed his death and, said that he actually faked his death. This is a storyline they have already done. They did it with another character who was previously dead in the original timeline, and that was Robert Crumplebottom. He died of, I think, a chandelier or something killed him. I think something fell on him. And The Sims 4, once again, tried to retcon his death and say that he actually faked his death the entire time. They're doing the same thing with Skip here. How many times are you going to retell the same storyline? Are you going to get another character like Darlene Dreamer and say that she faked her death in the fire to get away from Darren? Like, is that why? Like, how many times are they going to bring back these dead characters who are supposed to be permanently dead and you just bring them back again and say they faked their death? How many people are faking their deaths in this universe? But anyway, that's getting off topic. Getting back to Skip. The reason this doesn't work is because, let's just consider his family in The Sims 2 and the current situation going on there since they're trying to connect the games. In The Sims 2, by the time of Skip's death, his eldest son would have presumably been a child, his other son would have been a newborn baby, and another son would have been on the way, but, Brandy wasn't showing signs of pregnancy yet, but she would have been pregnant with his kid, his third child, and this is around the time he died. So, you're telling me Skip faked his death, knowing that he had two very young children. His wife was about to be pregnant with his next kid, and that they were doing bad financially. They were also doing bad financially, presumably. There's that as well. So you're telling me, knowing all of this, Skip faked his death after he had just gotten Brandy pregnant again. After he'd just gotten her pregnant again. So presumably they had woohooed at some point or tried for a baby some point just before his death. Why would he do that? Why would he get her pregnant if he was just gonna fake his death and run away? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work. It makes Skip into an extremely unsympathetic scumbag who got his wife pregnant and then ran away. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work. They're trying to make this sympathetic storyline with Skip that, you know, he's struggling with his identity. And that is a story you should tell. But it doesn't work with Skip Broke in The Sims 2. Because they're trying to connect his story to The Sims 2, it doesn't work. Because that's not who he was in The Sims 2. You're trying to change and mold his character into someone he wasn't. He was not this character. It doesn't work. The original devs, the original people who worked on The Sims 2, that was not the idea they had for Skip's character. He was simply a tragic character who unfortunately died too early, and his death affected his family. His son got involved in crime. His wife was doing bad. You know, this is, you know, they were struggling financially. It takes, by saying that he faked his death the entire time, it takes away from the Broke family in The Sims 2. It takes away from his death. His death had a huge impact on his family. And by saying that he faked it the entire time for such a stupid reason, it's so slimy, and it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I understand the story they were trying to go with this character who was struggling with his identity. But why would you go with such a cartoonish storyline of him faking his death because he's struggling with his identity? What? Like, that is just horrible writing. That's terrible. Like, Skip should have, if he was struggling with his identity, as a normal person, he should have just spoken to Brandy about it. Not faked his death? Like, what? And how does that even make any dang sense? He drowned, dude. Like, it's just, when you really break it down, you see how bad and borderline offensive this storyline is. Like, I understand the story they were trying to go with, but it doesn't work with Skip. They should have told this story, but they should not have used Skip for this storyline, because his character simply doesn't work. You need to have someone who doesn't have an established relationship and an established family and all this other stuff. They simply should have made either a new character or gotten somebody who doesn't have this, backstory. But they once again wanted to do it for simple nostalgia bait. That's what it all comes back down to in my mind. It comes back to nostalgia bait. They wanted to bring Skip back simply to, go, you remember him, you remember Skip from The Sims 2? That's all it is. They don't care about telling the story properly. They just want to bring Skip back for this cheap nostalgia bait. As I said before, I get what they were going for with this character who presumably was, he was, struggling with who he was. Maybe he wanted to come out. We don't really know, but Skip wasn't that character. He clearly wasn't. If you look at pictures of him in the photo album, and these were pictures that the developers had made to show you who Skip was before his death, because we didn't know much about him. He seemed to care a lot about his family. He seemed to, be, number one, he seemed to be happy with his life. You know what I'm saying? And he seemed very romantic and very close with Brandy. Just for The Sims 4 to go, he faked his death because he wasn't happy with this life. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We're being gaslit into believing this man didn't like, his family and didn't like, living with Brandy and his kids. It's like, what? There was no evidence of that. It doesn't make any sense.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.